Madison Brown, the object of Kody's ire in season 19, is launching a podcast this coming week, and I have a lot of thoughts. I will say that I am cautiously optimistic of this new venture of Maddie's, and I really do hope that it is a successful venture for her. We have a lot to talk about. Let's get into today's video. Hey everyone, what's up? It's Sarah and welcome back to my channel. Madison Brush is joining forces with Jamie Bird, and I apologize if I mispronounced her name, and they are launching a podcast called The Authentic Society, which they put out a little teaser for on November 1st, with a first full-length episode expected to launch on November 4th. The teaser gave us a glimpse into what the women hope to talk about with their podcast. And my biggest expectation, given the name, is that whatever it is that they do talk about, they will obviously be authentic, right?
Many people know me from TLC's Sister Wives as one of the cast members.
Really?
They call them cast members.
You look familiar.
I'm one of the kids. You asked if I wanted to do a podcast, and I was like, hell yeah, let's do this. I love the idea of a podcast because I want to tell like my side of my story. My story for like a lot of years, it was different perspectives muddled in and stuff like that. And I want to be able to tell my life from my perspective and where we're at now, and maybe dish some deets of like what really happened from my perspective. People always ask why I don't keep up with pop culture. And I'm like, I have enough drama in my extended family to ever.
Well, yeah, your family is pop culture.
That's fair.
Is that crazy to think about, that you're pop culture to people?
Yeah. I love when people are like, I didn't like you when the show first started. And I'm like, when I was 15. Okay.
15.
Nobody likes anybody when they're 15.
So what do you want to get? Like, what do you want people to know about you from this podcast? Like, what do you think?
That I'm human. I think so many people disconnect reality TV, and I like explain it like The Bachelor. So when you watch The Bachelor, you're rooting for one of the guys, right? And so you pick apart all the other people. And it's like, but we're still human beings. So like, I'm human. I still have, so people will say stuff and it's like, okay. Or like, I have a normal life. I live in suburbia America. My husband works. We make a middle-class income. We're just normal. Mm-hmm. And I want people to see like that there is perspective there from this weird aspect, but I live a very normal life.
You do. What are you like most excited about, you think?
I think connection. I think that a lot of people, like I meet a lot of people out and about, or like people will message me and they're like, thank you for being real and raw.
Yeah.
Our world is so curated. And I think that there needs to be moments where it's like, no, it's not always perfect.
Yeah. Well,
and especially like after my brother passed away, I have like more of a drive to show that the world is not curated.
Yeah. We'll be talking about so many different topics. I hope we can handle them with grace and maturity. You know, we'll be talking about mental health. We'll be talking about
marriage, kids,
adult relationships, past traumas, how to navigate that. And again, it's not for advice, just to feel boundaries, to feel less alone.
Yeah.
So we're excited for that. And we hope you are too.
We're excited for you to join us.
I love the idea of Madison doing a podcast too. I've seen a lot of mixed emotions regarding the announcement of this podcast. I think one of the biggest reactions has been confusion, because it's not entirely clear how Madison plans on discussing Sister Wives related topics. And I sort of feel bad for Jamie, because I think that that is the reason why the majority of us will be tuning into this podcast. I mean, at least initially. We want to hear what Maddie has to say about the show and her family. The reason why I'm cautiously optimistic is because we've seen some of the sister wife kids and extended family members speak out for brief periods of time, only to end up retreating back into silence. And it's like we are all wondering,
were you silent or were you silenced?
Peyton dabbled in TikTok and had that John Yates interview only to seemingly get yanked off social media by his family members. I mean, he later did an interview on Mykelti's Patreon where they basically all concluded that Peyton was used for clicks and views. Gwen dabbled in YouTube and Patreon for a while, in which she was pretty critical of her dad and Robin's behavior, only to seemingly flip and start being more critical of her mother. And then she revealed to her patrons that she had received a lump sum of money from her dad, money that she considered payment for years of work on the show. Eventually, Gwen stopped uploading to YouTube and exclusively posted on Patreon. And I kind of understand that, honestly. You can kind of gatekeep the critics by instituting a paywall. Honestly, I really don't have a problem with that. And Gwen stopped posting altogether following the death of her brother, Garrison. Then we had Kody's nephew, Ben. He had been growing a following on social media with reaction content and commentary on Sister Wives, only to taper off related content, leaving followers wondering why. And now one of the AUB Prophet's daughters is offering her perspective. And while I am so excited to get her take, part of me is wondering, well, how long is this going to last? Because it seemingly never does. Something mysterious always happens that takes these whistleblowers of the Brown family offline. Mykelti and Tony have gone the longest on their Patreon, and they also happen to be the family members that have historically been the most complimentary of Kody and Robin. Not to be too much of a conspiracy theorist, but I'm just saying. I have always felt bad for the Brown family kids because none of them had a say in putting their lives on public display. That was a controversial choice made for them by their parents. I think that any of the Brown kids who opt for a more private life, like Logan, for example, should be afforded that courtesy. I don't think someone like Logan deserves to have his private life ripped apart just because his parents put him on a reality show when he was a teenager. Watching Logan and Michelle's wedding be made a storyline, knowing how much they preferred to be private, felt particularly icky this season, I'm not gonna lie. And I really hope that production reevaluates instances like that in the future. With all of that being said, I do feel differently about these kids who are now adults who are choosing to have a public platform. This is a choice you are making as an adult. Something that kind of grinds my gears is when any public figure in general shies away from answering their followers' questions and then they claim an invasion of privacy. Obviously, it's not cool to cross the line, and there definitely is a line of what is acceptable with parasocial relationships, but don't put your life on TV or social media if you aren't willing to follow up with answering questions honestly. One might say, authentically. So I guess my advice / question to Maddie is, are we really going to get authenticity? Are you really going to give your side of the story? Or are we just going to get a lot of fluff and dancing around answers? This is what a lot of people have criticized Mykelti for. With what Kody has openly said about Madison on the show, there is no way I will believe anything other than this once close father-daughter relationship has taken a seriously dark turn. As Maddie and Jamie posted their intro episode, Madison posted this on her Instagram stories.
This is a reminder for anybody that's grown up with a toxic parent. Holding clear and firm boundaries with somebody that's been toxic and abusive to you your whole life is not the same as holding a grudge. Just in the same way as speaking the truth about your experiences at the hand of that toxic and abusive person is nothing like a smear campaign. And in case anybody wants to question or ask about it, talking about abuse is not what rips families apart. abuse does.
Speaking the truth about your experience with a toxic and abusive person is nothing like a smear campaign. To that I say, spill the tea, sis. It's clear people watching and listening to the podcast so far are under the impression that Madison is going to be talking about her family. One person commented, "This podcast is going to soar high. I think everyone who has ever watched or still watches Sister Wives will be excited to tune in and hear Maddie's story and her truth." Then another person commented, "I watch and listen to a lot of Sister Wives podcasts, and let me tell you, everyone is excited about your podcast. I loved 15-year-old Maddie, always purposefully making Robin mad. Can't wait for these episodes. I'm all in." Then the podcast replied, I'm not sure if it was Maddie or Jamie or some producer or something, replied to someone who commented on their excitement about Maddie talking about her family, stating, "Thank you so much for your kind words and support. It means a lot." So I'm sorry to Jamie, but I think it's quite clear that the initial draw, at least, of this podcast is, what is Madison going to say about her family? And based off of this intro episode, I don't think followers are wrong to have that expectation. I mean, Madison says she wants to give her side of the story. We are waiting with open ears, and I do think that there is a way for her to keep it cute and still classily and deservedly drag Kody and Robin for filth. I do hope that these girls keep in mind that they literally named their podcast Authentic, so I do hope that they keep it all the way real. I suppose I'm just a little bit nervous because we've seen family members dabble in speaking out and then they're dancing around answering questions only to mysteriously shut things down. And it's like, why? I want these family members, these people associated with the Browns, to feel confident enough to speak their truth with their whole chest. And I hope Madison is the one that will. What do you guys think of Madison's podcast? What are you interested in hearing her take on? Let me know down in the comments. As always, make sure you like this video and subscribe to my channel. Check out my second channel, Sarah Spills. A link for that will be in the description of this video. Follow me on Instagram, Threads, and X at Reality Squad, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Take care. Have a good one. Much love.